Hey guys, Mars Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so we are getting an Extreme Z Awakening for the AGL TAPION. It's going to drop on the JP side somewhere around 12 hours after this video is released. I'm doing the TAPION one and the Janemba one for Global today, so they'll probably go up around the same time because they come out on each version around the same time as well. So for AGL TAPION, the weakness category is Connected Hope, which is, of course, the new PyCon category that just came out on Global. It is a standard 30-stage EZA. We go all the way down to stage 20 to check the additional information here that helps shape your team. Because from stage 20 onwards, units that are STR or physical suffer from an 80% attack damage reduction. So basically, any STR or physical units that you bring on your team past stage 20 are not going to do any damage to TAPION. So if we have a look at the bottom, it is your standard 30-stage EZA. So you get, of course, all the medals to awaken him. Yeah, a bunch of AGL orbs. I think it's pretty much enough to rainbow a unit from 0. So it's always good for these, because for some of these units, especially TAPION, who's like a general pool unit, chances are you've probably got dupes in this guy, maybe put some of the orbs in to fill out his path. So it's nice to get some bonus orbs back that you can use for other people. And then, of course, same goes for the Kais. Chances are you possibly have this guy at SA10 if you've used him or been using him already. So you get the 5 Kais you need to get him up to SA15, and then you have a bunch spare to use for somebody else. And then, of course, you get 30 stones, 1 for each stage, and then you'll get 4 stones for completing all the missions. You only need to have 1 character from the Connected Hopes category on your team to beat level 20 to get it. So these missions are pretty easy to do. So if we have a look at the Connected Hopes category, now it is quite limited, and the one thing that you will notice straight away, of course, is that PyCon is the only leader for the category. So I'm trying to think, in fact, for JP, I don't think him and Janemba have returned on banners yet. So if you didn't summon for him, then obviously you're not going to have him. But we are going to cover some other possibilities. And then as we look down the list, unfortunately, there's some very strong units on here, like the 3-year Fusion Gogeta, the Angel Vegeta. But of course, remember that STR and physical units are not usable. Because like JP just got the EZA for the physical Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. He would be super good here, but he's not going to do any damage once you get past stage 20. So starting off with PyCon, obviously he is the #1 choice for the lead, just because he gives the whole category 3 key and 170. It doesn't limit your team building at all, so that means you can literally just filter your box by Connected Hopes and then just bring all the best AGL tech and int units. And then of course he does have super class as a sub lead, so if you're really lacking on Connected Hopes characters, you can bring super type units who aren't in that category. But if you are forced to do so, I would prioritize bringing units who are really good tanks, because they're not going to be able to do a huge amount of damage anyway, because they're not in the special category, and they're going to take a little bit extra damage compared to units who are. So for example, if you're bringing any units with like Over in a Flash, you could bring the SDR Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, because his passive is never going to run out before the end of an EZA, and whilst he's not going to do any damage, he's going to be able to tank for you. So that secondary part of PyCon's leader skill can come in handy as well. Obviously, if you do have a Goku Angel or Vegeta Angel on the team, then you can get PyCon's active skill, unit super attack. So that is going to make him effective against all types, which is going to help him out for damage, because obviously TAPION is AGL. So that will help out a little bit in terms of the damage if you can get PyCon's unit super attack to activate. And of course, as long as you can pick up the orbs, he does have a support super attack passive, and he can dodge. So he can be very useful in the stage as you progress through the levels. So in terms of follow-up leaders, I thought I'd include this guy just as a special shout out, because if you've managed to get to 1,000 days, then obviously you will have this guy, all types key 3, attack and defense 100%. Not the best leader skill, but I only included him because he covers all types, and he's STR, so he's not going to do a lot of damage, and he's going to take a lot of damage from TAPION. So this is like the last resort leader skill, basically, if you have to use him because you just don't have anyone else. But we are going to go over a bunch of other options, obviously, as that is the point of the guide. So a couple of units who will be very useful. So the LR Oob, he is of course a free to play unit. He's on the category, he's tech, so he's got type advantage. He's decent. A lot of people, I think, underrate him, but obviously when you are in an EZA, you can't heal. So as you get a couple of turns in, the chances of you dropping below 40% to get his transformation condition are quite high. And then once he transforms into Marjube, he does create rainbow orbs, which is then obviously going to help out rotations where you have the Pycon, so you can get a rainbow orb for him to activate his dodge chance. They don't link super well, but they could work on a rotation together. But one thing to note is that he is a Resurrected Warriors category lead, and there are a whole bunch of Resurrected Warriors on this category, so we are going to talk about a lot of them as we go through. So it is actually possible to make a Resurrected Warriors team build for this EZA, and I'm going to show that at the end. So then we go on to Nail. Very popular combo. We obviously have the Piccolo here as well. These are both on Pycon's category, so they're getting the full leader skill. Obviously, if you're not running Pycon and you have to run one of the other sub-leads, they're not going to be as good. But Nail, essentially, as long as you're running a Piccolo on the team, then he gets a whole bunch of extra attack and defense and damage reduction. And the lower the HP you have, the more damage reduction he gets. So as you get towards the end of the stage on the harder difficulties and you started to lose some HP, he's going to tank really, really well. Obviously, there's no Wicked Bloodline enemy in this event, so you're not going to get that final part of his passive, but he can be pretty solid defensively as well as doing some decent damage. And then this Piccolo obviously goes well alongside him. He's not the best unit, but he's fairly decent, especially because he's a free-to-play. Like, a lot of people probably have him like leveled up and rainbowed. And he does have the possibility to transform into the assimilated Nail after a few turns, which does give you a heal, which is nice for the EZA. And then, of course, he does create rainbow orbs as well as recovering HP with some of those rainbow orbs. So he does work really well on Pycon's team. So the rotation of him, you only need him on the team, in fact, to activate Nail's passive. So you don't actually even have to have him on rotation with Nail. And yeah, they work really well together on the team. So then we have this Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, who got an EZA a while back. He's pretty decent defensively. He stacks defense for 6 turns. So obviously once he's got a couple of super attacks off, his defense is very, very good. He does also pick up an additional 15% defense with each attack received. So by the time his passive is fully activated and he super attacks a couple of times, his defense is going to be incredibly high. And yeah, he is one of the units that is also on Resurrected Warriors. So then we have the TN. If you're bringing a lot of super tech units on your team, or I guess even if you're only bringing 1 or 2 really solid super tech units, if you have this guy, he's on the category, he's going to be giving all those guys a massive buff as well as the extra key. So if you get him come onto a rotation with, say, the LR Oob, it's going to be pretty easy to hit his 18 key super, and then you're obviously going to do a ton of extra damage. So as long as you have a bunch of tech units on your team, he's going to be a very solid choice. If you don't really have any other tech units on your team other than just bringing this guy, then maybe he's probably not as worth it, but he can still be pretty decent. The changing orbs can help as well for getting Pycon's passive, because even though he creates tech orbs, Pycon only needs to pick up 3 type orbs of any color, so that can help him out as well. Then we have the tech Majin Vegeta. He got his EZA, made him fairly decent. He's not the best defensively. I would probably use him on the team as like a 3rd slot floating unit maybe. But he can do fairly reasonable damage. He's on Resurrected Warriors, and obviously he does have some of those like standard Saiyan links. So depending on how you're building your team, you could use this guy to decent effect. Then we have the Super Saiyan 2 Goku Angel, who transforms into Super Saiyan 3. Now, he's actually the other one that I've made like a template team. You could use him as a leader. It is possible to make a full Otherworld Warriors and Super Saiyan 3 team that are all on the Connected Hopes category. So that team would probably work quite well if you don't have Pycon. He's a very solid unit, and then obviously you're probably never going to see him transform in the EZA unless you are one of the people who goes past stage 30, because you've got to get to turn 3 and the enemy still have 80% or more HP. And obviously Tapion, for those first 30 stages, chances are in the first 2 turns you're probably going to do more than 20% of his HP in damage. So you're potentially never going to see Goku transform up to Super Saiyan 3, but then obviously if you do, he's going to become insanely hard hitting and really up the damage output. So then we have this Gotenks. He's really good in things like Super Battle Road, because once you get to turn 3 and he transforms into Super Saiyan Gotenks, he has a 70% chance to stun. That's obviously not going to come into play here because you can't stun after the first couple of stages, but he does greatly raise defense on super attack. He has pretty decent links. Obviously, if depending on who you're bringing along, like you can have Gogeta, Fusion, Super Saiyan, all that good stuff. So they can fit together reasonably well. And then, of course, he's going to go really well alongside the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks with his EZA. Obviously, the physical one, I would say, is probably better, but this guy has the type advantage where, of course, the physical one is going to have his damage massively nerfed by the EZA stage. So those two are going to work really well together. If you do decide to go past stage 30, when it starts to get a little bit harder, obviously you can transform up to Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, but you have to get to, like, turn 7. But once you do get there, he is going to be insanely powerful. Then we have this free-to-play Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. The only reason I really included him on here is because he's on Resurrected Warriors and Super Saiyan 3. So if you do have to use one of those other like team builds, you could bring him along. He's probably going to be like a 3rd slot float, but as a free-to-play unit, everybody does have access to this guy. Not the best, but he can fill that last slot depending on how you need to build your team. Then there's this free-to-play Goku, who's on Super Saiyan 3. After you get to, 80% or less HP from the 3rd turn, he will power down into the base form Goku. But, you know, he's pretty good. He's got a unit super attack where there's a Hercule on the team, but you're probably not going to be seeing that in this event. But again, some of these free-to-play units, they're kind of like last resorts to fill the final slots on your team. So this one, like I said, Connected Hopes being the category makes it a lot more restrictive, but these are units that you can help bring, you know, to fill out the team. Then, of course, we have EZA Gogeta. I mean, we don't really need... What else do we need to really say about this guy? He raises defense for 1 turn on Super. As long as you pick up a Rainbow Orb, he has a chance to dodge. And he has the effective against all types. So regardless of the fact that TAPION is AGL, he's still going to be hitting incredibly hard. He does have Over in a Flash, and he's on the Otherworld Warriors / Super Saiyan 3 build if you want to bring that in Goku. So you're going to have a lot of units that are going to share his links, and it's going to be very easy to super attack with him and do a ton of damage. And then last but not least, as like an honourable mention, I wanted to mention this Tech Roshi. I don't think I've really ever used him since I pulled him, but I'm pretty sure I've pulled enough copies of him for him to be Rainbow now. In the first few stages, you know, when you're not going on for like multiple turns, he's going to be fairly interesting because he gets that one-time 620% attack buff with a guaranteed crit. So he's going to do a ton of damage. Obviously, he's not actually going to stun the enemy once you're past a certain point, but he does stun himself as well, which is interesting. But that essentially just stops him from doing an additional with that 628% buff. But he's going to be able to get off one really solid hit, and then after that, he's kind of useless. So the problem with this is he doesn't link very well. So, I mean, I guess if you had him on rotation with the TN or with Pycon and you actually get Pycon's support passive, then you would be able to get a super off of him. But after that first turn, then he's just not really useful anymore. So those are some of the main units that I wanted to mention. Having a quick look down the list again, remember we're only really focusing on AGL, Tech and Int. Future Gohan can be a pretty decent tank. The AGL Mai, even though you can't stun, she does provide a support buff to AGL types, but she's very weak defensively, so I probably wouldn't consider bringing her. The GT Spirit Bomb Goku, I guess, maybe. But then as you can see, like there's STR and physical you just don't really want to consider bringing. And then, like I said before, because Pycon does have that secondary super types leader skill, if you are running him, you can supplement in some other super type units who aren't on the category, but you will have to make sure that you have, you know, very strong tanks because they're going to take extra damage, especially if they get super attacked. So let's flick over and have a look at the couple of the team builds that I made. Okay, so this is the first one here. This is for people who do actually have the Pycon, so this is the team that I would probably use. Obviously, being a global player, by the time this comes to global, there's the potential that this will have changed and there'll be other units, so I probably will make the guide again once it comes out on global. But if it was to drop on global right now with the box that I have, this is probably the team I would use. We've got the Pycon, we've got the Oob in there. We've got this Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku. I actually didn't mention him at all before, which is... he should have been in the honorable mentions for sure, because whilst he's not necessarily the best defensively, he is on the category. So the problem is he's not on any of the other categories that you can make leads out of, which I think is why I forgot to bring him up before. But you can only run him if you are running the PyCon lead, because he's not on Resurrected Warriors, Otherworld Warriors, or Super Saiyan 3. But this is probably the team I would run. Then this is the Otherworld Warriors / Super Saiyan 3 build. Like I say, you've got units like this free-to-play Tech Angel Super Saiyan 3 Goku, who would probably be an off-rotation float. So would this guy, to be fair. I think your rotations for this would probably be the Int Goku and Gogeta, and then maybe the 2 Gotenkses. But this is a category that you could run. And because they are all on Connected Hopes, you can still bring a PyCon friend lead. Because PyCon is on Otherworld Warriors, so he's going to be getting the buff from Goku's leader skill. Because obviously what you normally see with an EZA is everyone is setting their lead to the actual main category lead. So you might be able to find some of these Gokus as leads for friends, but you're probably going to find mostly PyCons. And then this is the Resurrected Warriors team build that I made. So the Piccolo on his own, like without having the nail to link up with and stuff's not as good. And then, of course, the Tech Super Saiyan 3 Goku's on here as well. So I would probably run like the Vegetas together and then maybe the Goku alongside maybe the friend PyCon. But yeah, this is one way that you could run this team as well. So these are a couple of options for how you could build the team. As always, let me know if there's any other units that we missed that you thought we should have talked about, and let us know your team builds for the event down below in the comments section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the link to my Discord and the merch store in the description below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.